The starship horizon drifted toward the gleaming arc of the Concord Gate, a structure that hung in the void like a suspended crown of metal. Commander Rian stood at the forward deck, watching its radiant coils pulse with quiet power. Every time humanity approached a new frontier, the air changed around him. He felt it again now, a pressure that was not fear but anticipation. Years of conflict, negotiation, and relentless experimentation had led to this moment. The Concord Gate marked the first invitation humans had ever received from the Elythian Assembly, a federation of advanced species that had long considered Earth too primitive to join their ranks. Rian understood why. Humanity's history had been turbulent, passionate, and stubbornly unrestrained. Yet it was exactly this stubborn spirit that had kept them alive against impossible odds. Beside him stood Mira, chief engineer of Horizon. She had been the one to warn him 6 times already about the Elythians' strict protocols. The Elythians valued distance and ritual. They preferred minimal physical contact, and they distrusted emotional displays, especially from species known for intensity. Mira had repeated these rules every hour since they departed Earth. Rian knew she meant well, but her caution clashed with his instinct to meet others with direct honesty. That was how he built trust. That was how humans built anything worth keeping. As the gate opened for them, Mira murmured a warning. She placed a hand on his shoulder and reminded him again that the Elythians would not appreciate uninvited proximity. He turned and smiled. Her worry was familiar and almost comforting. She told him not to touch her again when they reached the reception hall. He grinned and nodded. Yet something in his expression hinted that he did not intend to. Let alien customs dictate the way he forged alliances. The shuttle descended into the luminescent hangar of the Elythian station. Light flowed across the walls like liquid silver. Figures waited at the center platform. They were tall, graceful, and draped in robes that shimmered like frost under the sun. Their eyes glowed with soft blue radiance, and every motion they made seemed calculated. At the front stood Lyra, an Elythian diplomat known for her unyielding adherence to protocol. Rian stepped forward with Mira at his side. Lyra raised a slender hand in greeting. She spoke with a voice that carried harmony rather than tone. Rian returned the gesture with a slight bow. It was proper. It was respectful. Yet beneath that controlled motion was a human intensity that the Elythians found difficult to read. Lyra approached to present a ceremonial medallion that symbolized temporary passage rights. When she extended it, Rian took it with a firm and human gesture. His fingers brushed hers. The Elythians all tensed. Myra closed her eyes for a moment, knowing this was exactly what she told Rian to avoid. Lyra studied him with clear surprise, yet she did not retreat. What followed was an extensive tour of their station. Mira noted every detail with fascination. The station's walkways were lined with energy channels that responded to biological signatures. Their technology manipulated matter through harmonic resonance rather than mechanical force. They showed the humans their archives, their defenses, and their star maps. Every sector sparkled with mathematical precision. Yet beneath all of it, Rian sensed a hesitation. The Elythians admired efficiency so much that they feared disorder. Their order made them strong but rigid. Humanity, by contrast, thrived through resilience. Rian knew that if he wanted an alliance to hold, the Elythians needed to see that flexibility was not chaos. It was adaptability, and it was powerful. The delegation moved to the Grand Hall for the final negotiation. A circular chamber with a high crystal ceiling awaited them. Lyra stood opposite Rian with a tablet of terms projected in front of her. The conditions offered were restrictive. Humans could trade, but not settle. They could observe, but not influence. They could visit, but only with prior permission. It was a contract designed to bind rather than unify. Rian read through the terms and then looked at Lyra. He saw the caution in her luminous eyes. This was not hostility. It was fear of unpredictability. Mira leaned toward him and whispered her usual reminder about subtlety and distance. He gave her a light nudge on the upper arm. She glared at him, repeating in a sharp whisper that she had told him not to touch her again. He only grinned. It was not mischief. It was reassurance. It was his way of grounding the moment in something human. Lyra watched this small exchange with visible confusion. For Elithians, physical contact outside ritual contexts was rare. Displays of camaraderie were almost unheard of. She asked whether the gesture indicated disagreement or aggression. Rian explained that it was neither. It was a human sign of connection and trust. He spoke about how humans survived the darkest events in their history through unity. He described how touch was often a reminder that no one faced danger alone. Lyra listened with unexpected interest. She had always believed humanity lacked discipline, yet she had never considered that emotion could be a form of strength. Rian stepped closer, not invasively but deliberately. He requested permission to demonstrate. She hesitated and then consented with clear curiosity. Rian placed his hand lightly on her forearm. She flinched at first. Then her eyes widened with recognition. It was a gesture of presence, not dominance. It said we stand together. It said we do not hide from connection. Rian withdrew his hand after a respectful moment. Myra watched in disbelief. She whispered urgently that he was breaking every guideline issued by the Diplomatic Council. Rian smiled and gently tapped her elbow again. She muttered her familiar warning not to touch her, yet there was no real frustration in her voice now. There was only reluctant admiration. Rian's approach had opened a door no protocol could have achieved. The negotiations shifted. Lyra asked about humanity's achievements. She inquired about their resilience after catastrophic wars and environmental challenges. She questioned how a species so driven by passion managed to expand across multiple star systems despite lacking early technological sophistication. Rian responded with stories of perseverance. He described colonies that rebuilt after disasters. He recounted missions where cooperation overcame impossible odds. He painted humanity not as reckless wanderers, but as determined survivors. Other Elithians joined the dialogue. They softened. They asked questions with genuine curiosity rather than skepticism. Humanity's chaotic nature now appeared less threatening and more intriguing. They saw potential in cooperation rather than control. They saw that a partner, capable of rapid adaptation, could strengthen the entire. Assembly. Hours passed as both sides reshaped the terms. Mira contributed by outlining the technological benefits of shared research. She explained how human engineering solved problems through creativity that did not always fit within standard frameworks. The Elithians found this refreshing. They began offering concessions, expanded travel rights, shared scientific programs, mutual defense protocols. The shift was subtle but steady. The final point of contention involved access to the Elithian knowledge vaults. These archives contained millennia of research. Allowing humanity any level of access was unprecedented. Lyra argued that such knowledge could be misused. Rian countered that withholding it prevented trust from forming. The chamber grew tense as both sides weighed the risk. Rian stepped forward. He approached Lyra carefully and requested permission once more. She granted it. He placed his hand gently near her wrist, not gripping but resting, a silent reminder of human sincerity. He told her that trust was always a risk, yet refusing it guaranteed stagnation. He explained that humanity did not seek dominance but partnership. He reminded her that the universe was vast and filled with threats none could face alone. Lyra withdrew her arm and stood in contemplative silence. Her advisors murmured among themselves. After considerable deliberation, she announced that limited access would be granted under joint oversight. The hall erupted in a quiet surge of astonishment. This was a decision that broke centuries of tradition. With the main point settled, both sides prepared to finalize the treaty. Rian glanced at Myra. She exhaled with relief mixed with disbelief. She told him again that he never listened, and he tapped her arm once more before she finished the sentence. She scowled and repeated her warning not to touch her, but her eyes held gratitude. His persistence had done more than push boundaries. It had changed the course of galactic diplomacy. The ceremony began. Rian and Lyra stood at the center of the hall as the treaty projection hovered between them. The Alithians watched with solemn anticipation. Mira joined the human delegation with a pride that she tried not to show too openly. Rian signed the treaty with slow precision. Lyra followed with equal formality. The chamber lights shifted to mark the new alliance. A soft resonance hummed through the crystalline ceiling. The Alithians bowed with their customary grace. Rian returned the gesture, adding the slightest human warmth to it. Lyra stepped closer. She extended her hand in a gesture that mirrored his earlier demonstration. He accepted it. For the first time, she initiated contact. Her people murmured in surprise. Rian released her hand and stepped back. Myra approached him. She shook her head and muttered that he never stopped bending rules. He grinned as usual. She told him not to touch her again. He placed a hand on her shoulder one last time. She sighed in surrender and let it stay for a moment before brushing it.